evening, NMEDA members. It is my honor to induct Darrell Heath, founder of Ability Center, into the NMEDA Hall of Fame. Here tonight joining us at the banquet are his sister Cindy Heath, his partner Roxanne Relling, and his nephew Tristan Jarson, and Lana, his wife. Let me tell you a little bit about Darrell. We only have a short amount of time, so I'll try to keep it brief. In 1978, Darrell started working in the mobility industry at age 15 and a half. It's what the state of California required to work. Working at MPS Corporation in San Diego. It was part of a work experience program through the school. He worked there for over 16 years. At MPS, though, is where he first learned about how to take care of customers, which is what we, as NMEDA members, really focus on. He learned that through George Hendrickson, another NMEDA Hall of Fame member. Darrell always used to tell stories about George and how he viewed customer service. George would have Darrell or anybody at the shop at MPS go out and help anyone at any time, day or night. And George never charged for any type of repair. If you bought something from MPS back then, you were a customer for life, and they'd fix it anytime, any day, whenever. This is really where Darrell learned how to take care of customers. That passion for customers and his desire to, let's be honest, do it his own way, led him to start a company called Wheelchair Connection while he was still working at MPS. This company simply provided wheelchair service for hundreds of people in the greater San Diego area. In 1994, Darrell founded Ability Center through what was effectively the purchase of the van division of MPS. Working with a small group of friends and colleagues, he was able to grow Ability Center from 1 store to 15 stores and approximately 120 employees by the time the company sold in October of 2018. Now, I'll tell you this, Darrell, when it came to business, when it came to work, Darrell had a strong sense of right and wrong. Another way to say that is, if he thought he was right and you were wrong, you were gonna hear about it. With his distinct voice and direct style, many of us, probably even in this room, can probably still hear his voice and understand his thinking. Eric, earlier in the opening general session, described Darrell when he was announcing the Hall of Fame inductees as a character. All I'll tell you is that if the greater power uses molds to make people, they made that guy and it broke it. And if you've been attending the NMEDA conference for, let's say, more than 5 years, you probably have your own Darrell story. We could probably have like a whole open mic night and go table to table. We're not gonna do that, all right? Darrell cared about a lot of things, all right? Doing things right, treating the customers like they were family, helping and developing employees, and spending time with friends, family, and other industry members at places like the river, or the car bar, or some of the other great trips that the manufacturers used to have with, travel all over the world with Braun, GMI, Tempe Mobility. Also too, he was somewhat of a contradiction. If you worked at Ability Center, you learned that you did not want to get a call from Darrell on the days that he signed checks. All right? He'd wear you out over $100 if you thought it was inappropriately spent, and then turn around and take everybody out to dinner for 5 times that amount and not think twice about it. But it was because he wanted to do the things the right way. And to him, it mattered. Big or small, it mattered. There's a lot of us, we probably met Darrell in events like this and fun and gregarious and outgoing. There's another side of Darrell that a lot of us that maybe didn't know him, that were close to him, we did see. And I'll just tell you a story to kind of characterize kind of who Darrell was. The Ability Center had a longtime service manager in Orange County, California, named Phil Freed. Phil was homeless when Darrell and Terry first met him. And Terry will probably tell the story better, but he just came by saying, is there anything that I could do? When Darrell and Terry opened the Orange County store, Phil started coming by, asking those questions. Is there any help I can give? They ended up giving Phil a job. They rolled the dice on him. And then they helped Phil, get off the street and get into an apartment. When Phil's wife passed away, unfortunately, they helped Phil. And finally, when Phil himself passed away, Darrell was there to help the family with anything that they needed. And it was because people mattered to Darrell. He would give you the shirt off his back. You'd hear about it, but you still get the shirt. For me personally, words can't describe how I feel about Darrell. We worked together, yes, but our relationship was more than that. We were friends, brothers, partners. We loved each other and we would do anything to help each other. In our family, we spend a lot of time at dinners on the weekend. Somehow Darrell comes up, Darrell one time convinced my son at a young age that kiosk that you pay your bill at Chili's and Applebee's, Darrell created it. Actually, to be fair, Darrell didn't claim creation. Darrell claimed it was his idea and there was no way he was going to get paid for it. That's really what it was. Those are the type of things that we think about and fondly, just remember him. For me, it's really, really simple. I miss my friends, but I am really happy that he's getting this recognition tonight. Darrell passed away in 2020, and we all miss him every day. One of the ways that the Ability Center team decided that they wanted to honor Darrell was we placed a memorial plaque in all the original Ability Center stores. I'm going to read you what that plaque says, because I think it really embodies who Darrell was. In loving memory of Darrell Heath, whose great vision, unwavering dedication, and lively spirit helped transform the lives of countless friends throughout the disabled community. The center of his legacy lives in this place, through the teams he assembled and their ongoing commitment to providing the best service possible and their ability to provide solutions for our valued clients. It's really important here as we wrap up that we also, again, go back and acknowledge that Cindy and Roxanne and Tristan and the entire Heath family are also a really, really important part of this legacy. Here to accept the award tonight is his nephew, Tristan Jardison, who's also in the industry. Really happy about that. And really close friend and long-time Ability Center team member, Terry Barton. Please join me in congratulating Darrell Heath as the newest member into the NMEDA Hall of Fame.
So everybody's been very proper and well spoken up here. That's probably going to change right about now. Michael, I want to congratulate you. I don't know that you remember me, but when Darrell brought me to a NMEDA thing about, I'm going to say 15 years ago, you were kind enough to have a conversation with me. And that's something. And I'm still here. So thank you. All right. Okay. So I'm the president of the FOD Club. It's the Friend of Darrell Club. If you're a friend of Darrell, I want you to raise your hand. Okay. So my goal is by the time I'm done with this, everybody will raise their hand. Okay? I met Darrell probably and it's going to be rough for me, so just bear with me. Probably when I was 13 or 14 years old. We're rugrats riding our bikes, watching these two kids fight in the street. We went to two different junior high schools, competing high schools. So it was the guy from my high school fighting the guy from his high school. Nobody won, they just both kind of walked in. But his bike was nicer than mine, and that kind of pissed me off. So I was talking to him about the bike parts and everything else, and where'd you get this, where'd you get that, and he told me, he just got this stuff. And I go, how do you just get this stuff? Well, you know how you just get that stuff, he just got that stuff. We struck up a friendship and started kind of hanging out through that summer. And what I think is important to know, and there may be somebody in this room that will benefit from this, is Darrell was Darrell because of his family and a lot of experiences that he had. So Darrell's dad, who thought my name was Boy and his name was Boy, so everybody's name was Boy, was an interesting character. And I had a great family. I wasn't hanging out there because I didn't have any place else to go. But it was kind of nice because I would always learn something. Darrell's dad always had some kind of job going on where I could make a few bucks. Building bird things or cutting lawns, doing whatever. I could make a few bucks. And so it was interesting. We hung out, we did a lot of nice stuff together. We had fun, we got in a little bit of trouble. We never really got into too much trouble. But I want to tell you a little bit of a story about when I first realized Darrell was different than most of my other friends. He had a vision, even at that young age of what he wanted to be, and he was always looking to accomplish something. So Darrell's dad had a Pac Bell phone truck with a man lift on it. You remember that thing? Yes, you guys. Okay. So Tom, who is the senior Darrell, used to go take us every once in a while, and we lived in San Diego, so everybody had palm trees. And he would get up there and cut the palm fronds off, and we would drive up and down the street and we'd make some cash. So Darrell's dad goes out of town, because he worked out of town sometimes. Darrell calls me on one of those phones that, answers, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing, working in the garage with my dad." And he's like, "We're gonna go cut some trees, you wanna go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take the money." So I'm expecting his dad to be bringing him over. I don't know if you even know this story. Darrell shows up in the truck to pick me up. I have a driver's license. I don't need the perfect drive. I mean, I did for 15. So I'm like, I didn't say nothing. I get in the truck. We go out, and I think we clocked about $300 that day. And I'm kind of keeping track of it. The thing about Tom always was, you never knew what you got paid, but you always knew it was way less than what he got paid. And Darrell's obviously Darrell learned this from his dad. So we made a couple $300, and everything's going fine. We don't get in trouble. We do a great job. We go over behind Big Bear because one of the problems we had is we weren't old enough to go to the dump to dump the stuff because we didn't have driver's license. So we had to find a place to put all these palm fronds. So we go to the Big Bear supermarket over there, and we dump them in the dumpster. No big deal. So as we're leaving, go pull around to go down to his house, Darrell sees this guy he knows at the liquor store. He's like, "Oh." So he goes over there, and Darrell gets him to buy us some beer. With the beer in the truck, and then we can't go to either one of our houses. The statute of limitations has expired on all this stuff. Just like you know. We go to the North Claremont Rec Center. We drink a few beers. We have Houses of the Holy in the 8-track player. And then Darrell decides it's a good idea to drive the truck on this hill, this grass, was not a good idea. I mean, this is a phone truck. So the truck's kind of spinning around. We almost get it stuck. We get out of there, and we're both scared to death. We think, the cops are going to come. The cops don't come. Drops me off at my house, take the truck home, or no, he drove me home, gave me his bike because we were a little freaked out, right? So I ride the bike home. The next weekend I go over to Darrell's house, and Tom's there, right? Tom is 86 pounds, 5'5". He could hide behind a phone pole, either this way or that way, and you would not see him. I promise you that. Smoked, always wore boots, sat outside in his pajamas, but he was the boss. And you just knew it. So I had been over to Darrell's house many times. I was welcomed. I wouldn't consider myself a family member until after the stay. So somehow through the grapevine, Tom had found out what Darrell and I had done. He came over to the house, and I got the ass whooping of my life. First Darrell and then me. And I mean, he kicked me so he could be an NFL field goal kicker. He kicked me so hard, I thought I was gonna die. And that was just the beginning of it. So that was my welcome to the family. And honestly, from then on, Tom was always, his dad was always very, he was really rough, but he taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to fix stuff. He had tools like you can't believe, so he was an interesting guy for us to hang around. So that was kind of the beginning of my relationship with Darrell, and that's when I realized he was an entrepreneur. Because I remember asking him when we split up the money. I don't remember what he gave me, but I knew it was substantially less than what he kept. And I said, hey man, what's the deal here? And he's like, well, that's your cut. And I said, okay, thank you, that's my cut. But when we got the ass whipping, I got the same ass whipping he got, so I felt like I got cheated. Anyway, all right. So that's when I realized Darrell was an entrepreneur. Chad talked about when Darrell was in the ROP program and he went to MPS, and I could tell you stories about George Hendrickson, amazing man, helped me out a few times. We would go over there, that's where we learned how to weld, cut, do anything with metal. And Darrell really flourished there for a long time. But here's the funny thing about that is that my dad had, my family was like, you stay in school, no ROP program for you. But Darrell knew right away, and Tom's like, yeah, you gotta go work. You're not smart enough to do anything else. You need to make some money. School's not gonna help you. So Darrell and I had worked out a deal where we sat next to each other in classes, so I could help him. It's just that. So Doc Foster in our trigonometry class was one of his favorites, and we never got caught, but we almost got caught a couple times. So we always had an arrangement, him and I, for a long time. He would help me with stuff, I would help him with stuff. So it was really no big deal, and I have fond memories of that. So a little bit more maybe about George. Darrell got a lot of what from my perspective, right? Like we had conversations about it, but George was exactly what Chad said. He was customer all the way. George was a paralyzed Navy veteran. I don't know if you all know that, but he was a extremely generous man, as Darrell was. Maybe he would let you know about it more than George would, but Darrell was an extremely generous and kind man. I'm proud to have known him and learned many things from him. But Darrell picked up a lot from George, and we had fun there. I remember when I had my first child, Darrell called and said, hey, George wants you to come swing by. He came swing by, and he bought me a high chair and a car seat, diapers, and all this stuff. And that's the way all these people were. All these people were, and I think that's what cemented me in this industry. When George got sick, and Darrell ended up buying the company in 1994, I happened to be down for the weekend. I was building houses in Utah at the time. I come down for the weekend to visit my kids. And he said, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm just down visiting the kids. He said, swing by, meet him at MPS. He says, you want a job? And I'm like, what kind of job? He said, I'm buying the van store or the installation shop from George. And I knew George had been sick. I'd come visit him a couple times and saw him while I was there. And I said, I guess I want a job. And so I had to drive back up to Utah, sell all my trailer, all my stuff. Came back next Tuesday, and from then on, that day I was driving a forklift from MPS up the street about 1.5 miles, completely illegally, taking pallets of stuff up and down the street. The following Monday, we probably had the store ready to go and open. Well, we worked through the weekend, we got it ready to go, everybody's pretty excited, just a few of us there. And we come in Monday morning, and somebody broke in before we even opened and stole all our tools, right? They break through the window, they clean out all our toolboxes, there's no tools. Well, you remember how I said Tom had tools? Tom had tools. So we went to Tom's house and we got tools. Tom brought us tools, and to this day, you can go to the San Diego store in my Snap-on box that I left there for him to use, and there are tools in there with Tom Heath's name engraved in the tools. It's a legacy. Darrell's legacy is really strong. There's many people in here, I think, that benefit from it. Myself, my family, this young man right here, these ladies over here, Scott Santos, Mike Smith. Well, I'll tell you a story about Mike and Justin. So, if you knew Darrell early, Darrell had a normal voice, right? And then later on, he had some surgery, and everybody thinks that the reason his voice was screwed up was because of that surgery. It's not accurate. It was from yelling at Mike Smith and Justin Moore. That's why his voice is like that. But Darrell had a special love for all the people. But I just want to kind of go through, you know, when we started the store, it grew pretty quickly. We had one building on one side of the parking lot. Pretty soon we had two buildings, a building on each side of the parking lot. We had a sales and a showroom, and everything else on the other side was a shop. I became more adept at working in the shop with some other people, so I was developing my skills. Darrell was always supportive of that. You know, Darrell was the owner that would sit back in the shop with us. Darrell taught me how to weld. Darrell taught me how to install our R30. Darrell taught me how to install. We didn't have schools. He was the school. And so a lot of my skills that I developed and the ability for me to be where I'm at today is due to his knowledge and his willingness to share that. And I think that speaks of large volumes about him as a man and a person. So the growth of Ability Center started to happen pretty quick, in my opinion, or as I recall. But there's some interesting stories here, and I'll share a couple of them with you. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but probably will. We about 4.5 years into, so probably about 1998, somewhere around there. I come into work one day, we got a full day in the shop. Like, we are smashed. You know, I don't have enough techs. We got work. And these were the days where, you know, our customers were in the shop watching us, eating lunch with us, that whole deal. That was how it was. Darrell's mom was there cooking us lunch, cleaning. Darrell's dad was there stealing something so he could go sell it, because everything in the shop was his. But that's all true. None of that's a lie. He says, hey, he called me T. Get in the car, we're going to take a drive. I'm like, Darrell, I don't have time to get all these people in the shop. He goes, no, you're not going to be back today. What do you mean I'm not going to be back today? I got a wife and kids at home. I got to be back today. He goes, no, we're going to go take a drive up north. Where are we going? Orange County. Why are we going to Orange County? I'll show you when I get there. All right, so get in the car. He drives me up there. Get out of the car, and he's like, okay, I want you to go walk through this place and see if there's anything in there that you would keep. And I'm still perplexed, right? I don't know what he's asking me to do. So I go walk through the shop, and I look around, and there's some tools I like, and this shop in particular had quite a bit of liquor in it. I wasn't sure about what that was about, but
he's sitting there talking to the guy, and this place is a mess, and I get in the car, and we're driving back, and he goes, I think I'm gonna do it. I go, you're gonna do what? He goes, I'm gonna buy that place. Oh, cool. You're gonna buy that place. It's a big mess, but we'll get it taken care of. So he proceeds to buy the place, and then he proceeds to tell me that I'm gonna be the one that goes and runs it. Right? So during this period of time, I had some car sales experience. I had managed a bar, so I guess I had managerial experience. I don't know if that counts, but I was really comfortable in the shop. And I didn't think of it then, but I think of it now, the amount of trust that he had to have to do that with me, right? I'm not an old guy, I got no experience. I don't know what he paid for it, I'm sure it was hundreds of something. And I said, well, we've got to kind of work out the semantics here. Like, what do I tell my wife? I can't drive back and forth every day, so I'll get you an apartment. Are you gonna help me? Yeah, I'll help you. What are we gonna do for employees? Did you like any of those people there? Yeah, one of them, and he still works for us, by the way. He says, why don't you keep both of them and we'll just sort it out as we go. So, got me an apartment, got me a plastic table from Walmart, one of those little barbecues where the Coleman thing screws in for gas. I had a shop car. My wife was like, well, if it's a better opportunity, then go do it. So she stayed up there. And these were the days when we did everything ourselves. And I think that was one of the reasons that he liked it, because I had learned from his dad and my parents and him and everything else, like some breaks you fix, call somebody. There's a guy, he's got a guy for everything, but we had to fix it. So we redid the stores, we fixed the plumbing, we replaced the toilets, we painted the shop, we did all that stuff. And so he hung out with me for about a month, and then I never saw him again. He was supposed to stay there with me. But it turned out to be a really good thing. That was his first store, or second store. And then he started talking to me and everybody else about people. He goes, he wanted to win. Roxanne said this to me the other day. He really wanted to win, but he didn't win at the cost of someone else. He just wanted to win. He started talking to me about people. We need to get more people. He finds Scott. Scott's good people. He set Scott up in Vegas. And then I go on a trip to Braun. It was kind of cool. It was back in the day when everybody had money. And I think that the manufacturers don't do those fancy trips anymore because of Darrell, to be honest. I'm not sure. So this was a big thing for me. Scott, myself, Dan Monahan, Ralph Braun flies out his jet. We get in the jet. We go up to Plant. And there's this guy that works for this guy in Orange County. And Darrell was always telling us, like, we gotta find some guys. We can't open another store until we find another person to run the store. I freaking meet this guy. And like, he's pretty sharp, and he's funny. So I tell Darrell, you gotta call this guy. So then, get this guy, he goes to Phoenix, he kills it. And I guess the point of this is what I'm telling you is this is a very people-centric business. And as difficult as it's been for everybody to manage and run their businesses and be as profitable as we'd like to, it's really all about the people around you that you really have. And we did really, really well. And Darrell did really, really well. I remember that, it's kind of funny because he told me he was gonna go take some classes at Mason College. You remember that? So I think it was around that time he started Wheelchair Connections, and he was he talked to me about it a couple times. Like, I don't know how to do books, I don't know how to this, I don't know how to that, fix anything, I'm really good with people, all that stuff. So he goes and takes a class, he's probably there, I don't know how many weeks he was there, but he takes a business class. And I asked him how that went, and he's like, I stopped going. Why'd you stop going? They told me I would never be successful running a business. That is literally what his professor told him. So don't let anybody tell you you can't, because they don't know if you can or can't. One story that I think is funny that kind of relates to Darrell is when we first joined NMEDA, and no lie, he bitched about it. Like, he wasn't happy to do that. But he did get on board. Anybody that was asking him for money, he wasn't happy about. So When we had a couple conversations, and this is funny because if you knew Darrell later, you could never imagine that Darrell would say or do this. We had to have a 24-hour emergency line, right? And nobody had cell phones when we started Ability Center. Nobody had cell phones. It wasn't a thing. It was like, he'd never had one. He used to laugh at people that had cell phones. So he says, well, I gotta get a cell phone, and you're gonna do the 24-hour call. So I'm gonna use the cell phone during the day. I'm gonna give it to you at night. So when you go home, if you get a call. So we shared a cell phone. One of those Nokia ones with the little swivel. Come on, you remember, right? The little swivel. So I said, are you gonna buy 2 clips so I can have my own belt clip at least? No, we're gonna share the belt clip. And okay. I'm really grateful that I got to come up here and talk about my buddy. So I'm really grateful. Now, I think there's a few awards that you may or may not know about that Darrell has, and I'm sure he would be proud to have this one. But Darrell's actually the residing mayor of the river. He received the prestigious Second Guesser Award. It's an actual plaque that we gave him. And if you ever had a conversation with Darrell, you will understand that. And he has his own currency. At Ability Center, we actually had Darrell bucks. Not. It's true. It's true. So I just want to wrap up and say I really appreciate the opportunity that I've had with this industry. I appreciate being around and working with all you people. Darrell really believed in the vision. He passed it on to us. And I think that it's probably one of the best things that happened to me in my life. So I miss him a lot. But I also got a lot. So if you're a friend of Darrell, raise your hand. Thank you.